Hello and welcome to the finale, the final episode of our season of Slugblaster, the game where angsty teens deal with nagging parents, quantum centipedes, circuit-bent ray guns, hoverboard tricks, and trying to be cool. It's dangerous, it's stupid, it's got parent groups in a panic, and it is the coolest thing ever. And joining me today to help round out this series is none other than the designer of Slugblaster himself, Mikey Hamm. Mikey, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Slug Daddy.
It's been just long enough since we've recorded that I kind of forgot that.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
Slug Daddy.
And no one else will ever forget it. It's gonna stick with you forever.
No one else will forget it. No one else will let me forget it. It is a thing that in the middle of a recording when I've got a lot of things going on, all of a sudden my wife from the other side of the room hits me with Slug Daddy, and my brain just short-circuited. I didn't know what to do with it. It was a very public forum. I had to deal with a lot of complicated emotions.
I didn't know that was your wife.
Oh, that was my wife.
That makes it even better. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just say right now, I just had a blast listening to this.
I'm so glad.
You guys are all just, you're just so funny and just such good players. And you, my friend, I don't know what you were worried about during that first interview, because it was like embarrassing listening to the show, because I was like trying to think like it was like I was giving this guy advice. This guy's like a pro. I've never GM'd a game this well, and I was giving him GMing advice. I was so mad.
Hey, I used all the advice. All the advice was very helpful.
It was incredible.
But it's a part of the reason why we do this show and the way we format it, we do, is because like going into anything new, even if you feel competent and good at it or whatever, going into something brand new, especially like I hadn't done any like Forged in the Dark games, and like you can feel me, especially in the early episodes, like trying to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, it's got its own rhythm and that kind of thing for sure. Yeah,
but I'm so glad you liked it.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
We honestly, and this is also a thing I say to all the designers of, because really on this show we only play games that we really love, and the reason we can make such a good show is because the game is so ding dang good, my guy.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm really glad you enjoyed it, and I have to say I was really feeling the love. This is complete narcissism, but every time I listen to an actual play, I always get so excited when the GM like reads some of my text verbatim or something, because I'm always like, ooh, they like this part, and because I'm really proud of the book. You know, I put a lot in, especially into the writing, right? And that's the part that I still sometimes I'll go back and read stuff from it when I'm looking up something to answer someone's question or something, and I'll read them like dang, I wrote that. I love that. Like that's nice. So like I love that how much you. I mean, it seems I'm really glad to see that you were like inspired by the content in the book, because I have to say, like you really got it. Like it was so cool seeing you run this, and all the players too, like really had a good handle on like the Slugblaster in my imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yeah, it just felt good. It felt like it's the feeling of being seen, right? Or you know, it's in a much lesser way, it's like I'm sure you or some of your listeners will still understand this. There's this feeling like when you're really proud of your kid doing something, but you know, like, okay, it's my kid. Of course, I'm gonna think that they're funny, or of course, I'm gonna think that they're thing. But then when like a stranger or like someone is like also thinks that about your kid, you're just proud as punch, because you're just like, oh, like,
yeah, it's not just me.
So it's sort of the same thing, because you know, when you work on something this long, it really does feel like you're like nurturing a child and then sending it off, you know, with a bagged lunch onto the school bus, and now like you don't have any control over it. So it does just feel good to see that like someone loves your thing as much as you did, right? And when you were making it. Yeah, I had a great time.
I think that metaphor, like sending off your kid with a lunch, feels really apt, especially for tabletop role playing games and designers, because with like a book or a movie or, you know, a poem or whatever, you hope that someone understands it, but it doesn't have to like, they don't have to interact with it necessarily. Whereas a role-playing game, it is one half of a conversation that other people have to like
that's right.
get and respond to.
Yeah. And you know, I'm a person who struggles with controlling tendencies with my projects and stuff like that. I'm a perfectionist. We're trying to recover from all that and stuff. So I'm always trying to learn to let go. And, you know, I mean, gaming is, I mean, it's all about that. When you're a GM, you have to let go and let your plans go sideways when the players do this. But also when you're making a game, it's the same thing, because you make the thing, and then people are going to do with it whatever they want, right?
Right.
And a lot of them are going to have their own take on it that wasn't your take. And so over the years, I've gotten really used to that feeling of when I listen to someone play Slugblaster, or when I even run a game of Slugblaster for people, I'm really prepared to see some new version of Slugblaster, some new, you know, I'm very used to that, because it's like, okay, let's see what these people think Slugblaster is. But then every once in a while, when someone does sort of like lock into something like very like early days, like of like, this is the Slugblaster I had envisioned, it's a really cool feeling also, because it's just like, oh wow, yeah, I remember when I thought that up, and like I remember when I got excited about that same thing that they're locking into. And so it feels good to see like all these different versions, but then yeah, there's something special when someone sort of locks into this, to the version that you kind of were dreaming up, like imagining people playing one day, right?
Yeah. I will say, in my like role-playing journey, I think I start with like the first role-playing game I ever ran, I had it in my head that like, I've got to build the whole world, and I'm not going to use, I like didn't understand roll tables. I was like, that's dumb. I'm going to pick this stuff and invent it whole cloth.
Yeah.
And the more I've gone, the more I've been like, actually, like, this is not only freeing, it's helps me be more creative because you're inspired by prompts. And it's like, when I look at Slugblaster, it has such a voice to it. And it has such a voice, it has such a clear identity of like tone and vibe and feel. Like, you really know, like, when we asked Colin Behold to do the theme song for this season,
oh man,
we all, literally all of the cast described the same thing. And I sent it to Colin, and I sent our description, which was like 90s action figure cartoon commercial. And he was like, oh yeah, I already got it. I was like, great.
Exactly. Yeah.
But for all of us to be on that same page just from like reading the book and like doing character creation, that means that the text itself was so strong to like get us to a certain headspace that of course I want to like pull from it and use the random tables and like do all the stuff that's in the world. Also because, you know, as much as I like prepped and played through this season and like edited all this stuff, I haven't spent nearly as much time with this book or with this text as you have. And probably no one has, or very few people have. So it's like,
oh, if someone has, I'm very worried for them. So,
but my point is like, take advantage of someone's passion and time. Like, clearly you have put a lot of thought into every word and thing on these pages. Use that experience, and it's probably going to get you closer to a like quote unquote good or satisfying Slugblaster game than if you just try to invent stuff whole cloth.
Yeah, I mean, people should do what they find fun. So, like,
sure,
I'm the same way. Like, when I'm a GM, I mean, clearly, what I find fun is coming up with stuff, right? So, so when I GM, I do like to come up with all my own stuff, and I would expect other GMs to like that too. Yeah. I also really love the feeling. I'm obsessed with the feeling of like using randomness as like to spring off of. So I love roll tables because I'll, you know, even as a GM, because I like to roll on and then interpret it. Like that's the creative juice for me, is interpreting random tables, like results and then like, okay, so what would that be, right? So, I mean, everyone should do what they find fun. And I mean, that's what you see. You see lots of people who want to make their own Slugblaster world within their own setting within the vibes of Slugblaster, right? Which is, I mean, that's awesome. I'm glad they do that. But yeah, but I mean, on the same time, it's like, yeah, I put a lot of love into these things, and not just love, but also like quite a bit of thought into some of these setting things. And I think what some people don't think about, and I'm not saying they're doing it wrong, but I just think of this when I'm playing other games too, is gameplay is not just mechanics. Like game design is also like setting design is game design, right? So sometimes just the way the setting is constructed will create a certain kind of gameplay that the mechanics aren't even as involved in, right? So, an example would be something like Peelback, which isn't really a mechanic; it's a feature of the world, but it creates a kind of gameplay. And in the same way, a lot of the locations that I put in there and a lot of the NPCs and stuff are a lot of pretty carefully calibrated, actually, to create certain scenarios or like certain I like to make like playgrounds, right? So a lot of them are pretty carefully constructed to be these like playgrounds with lots of different kinds of things for people to do, right? So yeah, like game designers, they think about this stuff, and they have fun doing it, right? And so I think it feels good to see people playing on your playground. I mean, and it also feels good to see people building their own, right? But it's every time for me someone plays in a new part of the world that I haven't seen people play in yet, I get so excited because I'm just like, oh wow, like
I finally get to see it.
Yeah, not a lot of runs in Calorium. This will be great or whatever, right? So, so that's really cool. And I guess your last run, I think, is a great example. Quahalia you used it perfectly. You knew exactly when to bring the crew to that place because that place is 100% designed to do exactly what you guys did with it. But of course, the way you guys did it and the things that came out could only come out with you guys doing it, right? With those players, those characters. No one could create those moments except you, but Quahalia is definitely designed to be the stage for those kind of moments, right?
It is very cool to see how Quahalia is such, like when I was reading through it, I was like, oh, this is obviously final boss. But also it's not like
very obvious.
It isn't a thing, it's just a setting. So it just means that this is going to contain the final thing. But I don't know what it's not like it's, Tiamat. It's it's not the big dragon that everyone's going to face the same thing. It's it's just a setting, and it's the both most described and also kind of least described. Like it's just very broad in what is there.
The Tiamat of Slugblaster is teenage emotions, right? Like
yes, of course.
It's like identity. So I mean that's the thing is like one thing I love about Slugblaster, just the like that kind of genre and like the things you can do in it is that I can create monsters that very explicitly are designed to reveal like the inner lives of characters, right? So you can design something like a psionic crocodile that like eats memories. So it's a fight, but the fight is designed to show little moments from that character's life, which is some of the most fun you can have at a gaming table and is kind of a unique thing that role-playing games do, right? Is like let people create these characters and describe their characters and learn new things about them together as a group. So when you're doing this kind of gonzo sci-fi type like stuff or anything, any setting that has like magic or anything like that, you can really design monsters and spells and all that stuff that is just very blatantly created to analyze a character or expose some sort of memory or personality trait or fear or whatever, right? So, and in the expansion I'm working on, there's, in fact, I have 3 tables that are all based on like peelback accidents and things that are all, again, just very explicitly designed to dig into something about someone's like some character's like inner psyche or whatever. Because that's where I think that's like the funnest stuff in Slugblaster is just learning about these kids.
Peelback was also one of those mechanics in the game that I found really interesting because it was so evocative when we were talking about it. When I read about it, I was like, oh, this is the thing that happens if everything goes wrong. And it's like, it's going to be really bad. But it's described in very kind of like broad terms in the book.
Yeah.
So it's really up to interpretation. And also there's not like a mechanical penalty to it. So like the further we got along in the series, the players kind of kept asking a little bit more about peel back. And I kind of just kept making it. I think if you listen to like my description of it in like episode 1 or 2 and my description of it in episode 7, it's like it just keeps getting more and more of a boogeyman in a really fun way.
I thought it worked great. Like, yeah, because I think different tables can interpret it differently, and some of the reason it's left like that is simply I just sort of ran out of scope to like I didn't have the space to flesh it out in the ways I wanted, which I now get to do in the expansion. And so I had to kind of, in the original book, put sort of this more condensed, there's like a disaster table in the GM section that has like sort of 2 explanations of a peel back accident and a peel back damage, sort of 2 different ways. But yeah, I mean, it is meant to be sort of a do anything button for the GM, right? It is the big bad, like, interaction with the magic of Slugblast, like of the universe, right? So the GM can kind of, if he wants to do something wacky, he can do it and just sort of be like, it's peel back, right? Like weird, wonky dimensional stuff can happen, but then you can also play it sort of the more meat and potatoes. Peel back would just be like someone's, ripped back home and feels awful, and it's like I'm sort of a medical emergency more than like anything too wacky, right? It's the equivalent of just like a bad injury, when kids are goofing off and then shit gets too real, right? And they and all of a sudden the fun's over. It's like that moment, it's like when you're at the party and someone all of a sudden has like drank too much and it's like not good, and and everyone's like, the party dies and it's like, oh, this kid's not good or whatever. It's like, it's that moment where like, the fun and games are over. That's what peelback's supposed to sort of represent or imitate, right? Because it's dimensional weirdness, you can do other weird things with it, right? You can dive into the character's psyche, or you can, fling them out, or you can have them, turn into a slime boy, which is one of the things that can happen in the expansion.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that it's really exciting as a designer to have people find the same flow that you did and like really fit into the world that you were trying to create, like be on the same wavelength. I'm curious, what elements of our game did you like see that happen? And also what elements of the story that we told and the way that we played were surprising to you, or like different, or maybe even antithetical to the way that you thought about Slugblaster?
Well, I mean, you locked into the vibe so strong. I mean, I don't know who does the sound editing. Just incredible. Like that sound design, man. Like you're gonna win the Oscar, like somehow, for sound design.
I'll take it.
Like, it was so good, and obviously, like you really locked into all the sounds. I was obsessed with that thing you do, where you have the tape deck stop when you need to like do an aside or something. That is so genius. No, I love that stuff. So I think like the sound design and the music, as you said, you guys obviously locked really into the vibe, and everyone showed up like ready to play a teenager and did it so well. And the thing I really respond to is how well you guys leaned into and like the skate culture of it all, even though I think I don't, it doesn't sound like a lot of you were like skateboarders or anything, or were there any of you who I
like toyed with it a little bit at various times. I know Jen skateboards now a bit, like got into it later.
I'm not an expert either. I worked at a skate park for a few years, but I wasn't like a huge skateboarder. I have about 3 tricks in my pocket, but
3 more than me.
but I think you really got leaned into the idea really well of like, this is about building like a famous crew and like getting sponsored and like just that whole aspect of it, which a lot of people, and I totally get this. I think a lot of people, I mean, especially I guess gamers, like don't connect with skateboarding that much. Like, because I mean, I'm sure there's a Venn diagram of skateboarders and gamers, but I bet there's also quite a bit of space on either side of that too,
Sure.
right? Because they're just two very different hobbies that don't necessarily synergize, right? So I think some people don't connect with the skateboarding aspect as much, and so they go more into sort of more of the sci-fi and dimension hopping part of it, and or more into the going to parties or exploring, you know, like they go into different aspects of it. So it's always fun for me when I see someone like they really lock into the skate culture, skate crew thing. And then things you did differently, I mean, there's always stuff that I'm like not expecting. But the one that at first I was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go. Because I was like, this seems like where, you always have one player who's like, I'm going to do something weird. Oh, this is a game about like cool skateboarders. I'm going to play the guts, who's like possibly the most like archetypical, like cool skateboarder type character. And no, I'm going to be a kid who wants to become comptroller. Right. And so when, you know, that first, and you always have someone who wants to do that. And of course, it's always hilarious. But then you do start to be like, I wonder if this is going to work, or is this going to start clashing with the spirit of the game or something like that. So when that character came up, I just laughed my head off. And then I was like, hey, I got to earmark this and like pay attention how this goes. And of course, it went amazingly because, the whole thing of like just inverting with the family, his parents were Slugblasters, and now, just the line of like, I don't want to be a Slugblaster. I'm still a kid. I want to be comptroller. Or like I just like I want to do kid stuff. Like be comptroller.
Like be voted in comptroller.
Yeah, that's right. So no, but of course it worked so well, right? And it added this totally new element. And the coolest thing about these kind of games, or just like this kind of media that has sort of wacky parts and kind of rides this tone of gonzo and emotional, is when the joke somehow all of a sudden becomes like real. Like when the joke all of a sudden becomes like, it's not a throwaway now. It's like there's something there, right? Like there's some emotional grounding around this thing. So so with Roshan having his like his dream, and that, you know, how that interact with like the crew fractures and just that whole thing was so good.
That's the thing I always love about role-playing games in particular, is especially when you have comedians on a show, in like every episode, everyone will do one thing that is like, ooh, here's a little goof. Here's a little goof that's just for fun. But then what's great about that is if you just double down and like, okay, that goof's part of the world now. Now let me ask you one extra question about it. And now all of a sudden they care about their dumb little goof. And their goof was like, poop is money. And you're like, okay, but what does that mean? And they're like, oh no, right. Now I've got to design a society where poop is money, and I'm going to get really invested in it. And like totally 20 minutes later and like 4 questions, people are like, no, okay, this is really serious economical. We've got a really big problem with inflation right now because people are eating.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like there's, the sewer workers are committing arbitrage, and it's
exactly.
Like things are going.
It's like you get so deep in that stuff, and it just gets so much fun because taking the fun little moment that someone was excited about in a moment and just being like, great, I'm going to validate the hell out of that. That's not just a bit. That's part of the world. Get excited about it. And now it's like, great, now we can have fun with it. And like really, now you're playing Slugblaster. Now we're role playing. Now we're finding a brand new thing.
And then 8 episodes later, you have a gerbil god who who like is like this reoccurring joke, and obviously like is sort of the funny, goofy ribbon throughout the game, but then it doesn't break the game because I forget if I talked about this in the first episode, but this idea that like when you're trying to ride that tone of that balance of this things that can get pretty goofy, And like the Voidware backpack is just obviously like a magnet for goofy jokes. But then also the sort of the more serious moments, people sometimes ask, so like, how do you ground the game so that to provide space for those emotional moments? But really, I find just go for it. The emotional moments will actually ground the game, right? It actually works the other way around.
100%. Yeah.
And so, and you can see examples of this in movies. And I always talk about the Spider-Verse movies because I just think they're such a great recent example of this, because you have Spider-Pig in this movie, but you also have just extremely real emotions and real characters, right? And you even have a moment where Spider-Pig at the very end says something like truly sincere and touching and has a little tear on his eye, and you believe it in that moment. Like, you're not like, oh, that's a cartoon pig who can pull hammers out. You're like, that's a person, right? That's a person who is saying goodbye to Miles, right? It's real. And so so you can have this gerbil god right alongside these moments where your characters are, what was that line that just killed? You had a couple lines that just killed me in episode 7. One of them was, oh my goodness, you're talking about the line that she was skating down, the rail.
Oh yeah,
and
rail.
How,
yeah.
And the line represented her friendship. And you said, it's not one long line, but it is actually a series of small rails, just like how a friendship isn't one long thing, it's a series of individual choices. Mm-hmm. I'm butchering it, but man, that just hit so hard. And then to have those moments where I think it was Sammy, telling Siren like you've always been the best Slugblaster, and you just have these beautiful moments, and it doesn't matter like if there was a gerbil god 5 minutes ago, right? Like, yeah, it doesn't change anything, because we know that gerbil gods aren't real, but we also know.
Oh, hey, don't say that too loud. Zordon is listening.
I mean, I'm gerbil god agnostic, so I guess I can't say definitively, right? So, but we also know that making up with a friend is real, right? We know that friendships being hard is real. Like we have those experiences, so we know those things are real, even, and so it doesn't matter. Yeah, but it's just, you guys just killed it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
Hey, it's Elliot from Many Sided Media, and I'm here to tell you about the second setting guide for the hit hope punk sci-fi TTRPG Dreams and Machines from our friends at Modifius. If you haven't heard, Dreams and Machines is a hope punk sci-fi TTRPG about a world in the far future cut off from Earth where sleeping mechs form a part of the landscape and a part of the culture. This new setting guide, The Broken Steps, will give players a detailed overview of the Surienta Simio region, as well as brand new glyphs, talents, and equipment for player characters, and expanded rules for mounts and vehicles. But perhaps most excitingly, there are now rules for settlement building, so players and game masters can create these permanent, customizable communities that grow into societal hubs that forever leave your personal mark on Evra Prime, the world of Dreams and Machines. So if you want to pre-order The Broken Steps coming later this year, use code DREAMS10 at checkout and get 10% off the Game Master's Guide and the Player's Guide, everything you need to start playing.
Hey, this is Brian, and I just want to tell you about some cool new stuff from our friends at Hero Forge. Hero Forge offers fully customizable tabletop minis with dozens of fantasy species and thousands of parts to choose from, all within your web browser. When I first got into D&D, I spent hours fooling around with this online mini maker and even bought custom minis for all the players in my first D&D group, and they loved it. Hero Forge is constantly releasing new content, and they've just launched their latest feature, custom acrylic keychains. These keychains use the same technology as their color standees and are the perfect way to rep your beloved character when you're out in the world. They are highly detailed, ridiculously durable, and made of 1/8-inch thick acrylic featuring front and back color printing, measured on the same 30mm scale as Hero Forge minis and standees, which means they will be a 1-for-1 match for your heroes on the battle map. So visit HeroForge.com to start designing your custom keychain today.
The web tore. Those that both created and were created by the threads disentangle from the fringes to feast on the very thing that spawned them.
What's that, City? This is how you deal with me!
No! Do not harm my children!
Oh, you lost a feather. Can I keep it?
No, you can't force me to!
Do you know what lies within nothing?
Rocket is in trouble, Akasa! Can we turn on the windshield remotely?
No, she could lose her job as an Akasar.
I don't fear Vehar.
No, but you fear me. If you intend to trick me, I will not hesitate to sever the oath bond entirely.
Why didn't you help me? Coward! I don't have a parachute! I don't like free falling!
Counterbalance, a high fantasy audio drama. Season 2, coming 15th of October 2023. Learn more on trilunas.com.
Hi, my name is Robin.
And my name is Dylan.
Do you like Choices Matter video games?
If so, we started this podcast, Dorkspawn, so that I could show my best friend my favorite RPG series of all time, Dragon Age.
And now that I've played it, we want to share more of these choice-heavy games with each other.
Right now, Robin is showing me Mass Effect, which I have never played before.
And we are going to continue playing through these games together and discussing them book club style as we go.
You can join our Discord and play along with us, and tune into Dorkspawn every Friday wherever you listen to podcasts.
We've talked a lot about the things that we did well and the things we did right. It's time to talk about the things we fucked up. Because I know that we blew a number of rules, and I do want to address them and see like what you caught and what we did wrong based on the text of the book. You know, I always say there's no,
Sure.
you know, if you're having fun, you're doing it right. There's no.
That's how I feel.
Use what rules you want, but we blew through some of these rules.
Well, I feel that way that you just said so strongly that I might not have noticed as many things as I could have even. But yeah, I mean, you stopped the tape deck at one point to point out the thing of getting a style when you roll a 6, which is kind of your house rule, which I think works great. I mean, that's fun. Like, so I don't.
It's just more style.
It's a lot more style. But I think, like, were you guys by the end were people like out of things to buy? I don't think so.
No, people still had stuff they could have bought. Yeah,
you were struggling to make legendary. You know, which after how many runs did you do? I guess
did 4 runs.
4 runs. Okay, so that's a compressed campaign. So I think it made sense. Like,
yeah,
you guys,
we power camped it at the end.
Yeah, you did a compressed campaign, so earning more style actually helped that, right? Because otherwise you probably wouldn't have made it even close to legendary. So you were able to kind of show the whole arc of the game, which normally I think generally my estimates and stuff are that it takes about 10 sessions to get sort of where you guys, like 10 runs to get where you guys go. So I think that kind of worked. There was another one, but I feel like you maybe figured this out. I forget. There's something with kick and checking it that were kind of getting muddled or combined.
Oh, I think we ended up doing a thing where we used check it very liberally in that, because the idea behind check it is like you're supposed to say check it and then like describe a trick, and sometimes it was just players being like check it, and then that was it.
But no, that's fine though. Like, it's really what it is it's actually from Blades in the Dark. It's wearing a costume, but it's actually down in it's actually the same thing as in Blades of the Dark. If you succeed in a desperate action, you get to mark experience, or you know, in that action or whatever. So in the same way, in Slugblaster, a trick is essentially you're opting in to what in Blades of the Dark would be called a desperate position. You're opting in because you're telling the GM that if you fail, you get extra problems. So you're opting into that, but if you succeed, you get experience, which in Slugblaster is called style, which is, you know, it's just XP in Slugblaster, right? So it's really the same thing. So I think that, like, people can check it anytime they want. I mean, I encourage people to describe how they're doing something a little unnecessary with their action, right? The idea is that, like, you're adding some sort of amount of unnecessary flair to the action that would make it, seem extra cool to get that style. But I mean, really, the people usually have the opposite problem of not saying check it enough, which a couple of your players had in the first run and used brilliantly as like a launching point for their characters in their downtime to like that scene of Siren in the skate park, just practicing until her, knees were bloody, just thinking about how she didn't bring it enough in that last run. I mean, that's just genius gaming. So cool. Yeah, I think you did fine. I think in the first run there was some there was something where you were like, people were getting extra kick or extra style for something. I can't remember what it was, but it's, it's there's a lot of resources in the game. It's very easy to, that's sort of, that's been critiqued before, and I fully agree with it, is that, there's a lot to keep track of with all these different resources, and it can definitely take a run or two to get the hang of it. So
I know that was the thing that when we first talked to you during the first interview and we were talking about like things I was worried about, one of them was like just the amount of bolded terms, basically, like the things that you need to learn from the book. And really, I don't think that ever became a problem. I think by the end of the first run, I was like, oh, great. There's really like 4 things and they're all kind of, doing the same thing. You pick them up really quick in a great way.
They are kind of spaced out throughout the phases of play where you kind of don't have to hold them all in your head at once. You kind of just like, you have these few things that matter while you're doing the action stuff, and then these things matter later. And so, it's not as bad as it maybe looks when you're first looking at that sheet, like in play, but it is still, it still definitely takes a run or two. And that's why I often encourage people to play like the Slugblaster Turbo X if they're introducing the game to new people, or especially players who haven't played a lot of role-playing games, because that really boils it down to just sort of that one or two resources, and then you can build on it from there. It does pretty much work as just like a tutorial version, and the rules only just get more advanced when you move up to full Slugblaster. So it's a good way to introduce it. Yeah, and it's cool seeing. I mean, I'm sure someone in the same way I took Blades in the Dark and streamlined aspects of it and added aspects to make my own thing. I'm excited to see someone take Slugblaster and streamline it down into and be able to find the fat they can chop off and they build their own thing. Because it'll be interesting to see what people do with it.
The 2 things that I noticed that we didn't do or didn't use in the game, and one is kind of just random, that I noticed episode 8 was that this is a game about, ray guns and quantum centipedes. We never talked about ray guns one time. Not a single time did we even mention it. I don't think any of the players even thought about it.
That doesn't surprise me at all, because that's almost everyone's experience.
Is it really?
Ray guns are, oh yeah, that ray guns they're like a vestigial part of my original vision for this world that I just couldn't really let go of. And I don't know, I'm working on this. I'd worked on this for years, and the skateboarding part didn't even come in until like halfway through the process of this, like the whole angle that like, oh, these are skateboarder kids.
Right.
And so my original vision of it was more explorer kids, and it was more, it was a little more like trad in that, you'd be going and like, fighting monsters or fighting, I don't know, like dimensional pirates or something like that. So like weapons were a much bigger part of that sort of pre-skating version, right? Yeah, so it just kind of was like this vestigial thing that I couldn't let go of. And yeah, now it's in there, and a lot of people don't use it, and I think that's fine. I think like Essential Slugblaster probably doesn't need it. I can see a Slugblaster 2E like 15 years from now when I've like recovered enough from making the first one to do one. I can see Slugblaster 2E not having that at all, and just there's enough options for people who want to shoot things. There's enough options in the signature devices that
right,
people who want to have a gun can have a gun, right? But yeah, no, that's totally a thing that most people don't use that. I'm not surprised at all.
It was just a funny thing to realize, like episode 8, that like
yeah.
all of our like introductory things we talk about ray guns and we never used it.
In most actual plays or just even games I've played, there's usually a moment in like run like 2 or 3 or even later where someone's like, I actually have a zero beam, it says here on my sheet, or like, I actually have this, and can I just do this? And it's like, yeah, so it's very typical, because I think part of it is like, by the time I was done writing all the signature devices, I worked really hard to make them pretty versatile, and then players generally push them even farther than I designed them to be pushed in terms of versatility and like coming up with creative uses for them. So really there's hardly anything left. Almost everyone's signature device is a Swiss Army knife by the end, right? And they can do pretty much anything they want to do. Every single device, with few exceptions, has some attack mode, for example, which basically makes the ray gun even more useless.
I've got a bunch of questions here from the Many Sided Media Discord and also from some of the cast. And actually, this is a good jumping off point right in here. One of the things that we did in episode 1, and it even came back in episode 7, was combine the Voidware backpack and the reality cannon to like create a one-way portal madness. A question from our Discord from Adrian. What are some other cool combos between gadgets and characters that you've seen done before? Have you seen any like other pieces of equipment being used in weird ways like that?
I don't know if I can think of anything off. I mean, I'm just trying to think of my own fun combinations that I would do, but things I've actually seen in game. I mean, I think what made your moment so special is that those two characters were working together with their items, right? And like, that's always a cool thing to see when people do that kind of stuff. And maybe it doesn't happen as much as it should, because that's cool. I'm trying to think. People do lots of stuff with the gravity cannon, which you guys, I think you had a moment there with someone had hey, you did use a ray gun, because someone used a gravity gun.
Someone did use a gravity gun.
Yeah, someone used a gravity gun to launch someone else.
Yeah, and I think Elliot did that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did use a ray gun. Hey, look at us!
Did in the very first episode when they still remembered it was on their character sheet.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
It was fresh in their mind. Yeah, certain things. I mean, anything with hard light. Hard light ended up becoming so overpowered in a way of just like it's this extremely versatile thing. So anything that has like a hard light sculpting aspect to it, people get super creative with.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the Voidware backpack and the reality cannon, those 3 types of things get the most creative uses, I think. But no, I'm going to pay attention to this, because that's I now want to know, like, yeah, what other combos. And now, of course, I just want to write like a big like chart of like cool like combinations. That's the kind of thing that just itches a nerd's brain, right? Is like, oh, what's Wolverine and Cyclops' like team up move in the arcade game, right? Like, and stuff. So now I want to just come up with a bunch of fatalities.
what 5 devices can you put together to summon Captain Planet? How do you do it?
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. Oh man. Yeah.
I've got another question from Jen De La Vega, who played Ruby Ginto, the Chill.
Amazing.
One of Ruby's big things, as I'm sure you noticed throughout the series, was a vast and varied and beautiful array of chip flavors. And
Incredible.
Jen wanted to know what I've got Jen's whole list here of chip flavors. What would be your favorite chip flavor of these? So this is Ruby's chip corner.
Yeah, read them up. Remind me.
We've got breakfast, which is bacon, egg, and cheese mixed together. We've got radiators and ceiling fans. I have no additional information about that. Hasselback, which is just one big shingled potato in a bag.
Yeah.
Carnivore, all meats, including puffin. Chilivore, a meditation of spice. Each chip features a different hot sauce. Folklore, 1790s style history chips, man. Eggplant. Soup, which just tastes like soup. And then here were a few that were not used in the series. Fried gnocchi puffs and Peking duck, where each chip has a different component flavor.
Oh man, that's amazing. What would I actually like the most? I mean, soup could be so many things.
Soup?
I mean, yeah, I pick soup, and then but I have to specify it'd be tomato soup so that I can just construct my actual favorite chip, which is the ketchup chip, which is obviously a Canadian thing, and
sure,
me being a Canadian boy, the ketchup chip is my favorite. So I'll pick a tomato soup chip for actually eating, but I want to eat that giant chip so badly. Is it flavored?
The Hasselback?
I forget. Yeah. Is it just a salted?
I don't know. I think it's probably just salt and butter and stuff like that.
Man, I just think the texture and crunch of that would be just incredible. Like, I can picture it. I can just picture eating a giant chip.
It's really making me think of I was in England not too long ago, and I saw someone on their shelf had what is it called, Weetabix? And
yeah.
In the box, you like shake it out. It's just like a big chunk of a cereal type thing.
Yeah,
and I'm imagining that, but for a chip of like you have this big bag and you put it out into a bowl. And it's just one big clunk.
Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the chip varieties. That's extremely me coded. So yeah, Ruby's awesome.
It was one of my favorite parts of every episode was just getting to hear what Jen's next chip flavor would be.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm so glad that the chip eating came in, because that's just so quintessential chill for me. I just always picture, like, it's based off like Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11, or I forget the actor's name, but in Galaxy Quest, there's the guy who is absolutely the typical chill. So what's the actor who plays Monk?
Oh, Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, Tony Shalhoub in Galaxy Quest. He's like pretty much who I base the chill on. And there's a scene. It's when they're flying down in the shuttle to the planet, and everyone's like freaking out. And it just cuts to him, and he's just looking out the window, eating like little chips or snacks, and he's just got this big smile on his face. And I'm just like, that's
the chill.
That's the chill right there. So.
I honestly forgot that, and this is just another shout out to like roll tables, is that the whole chip thing came from, that's in the chill playbook.
The vibes table. Yeah.
And love a random table. So a couple more questions from the cast. We already talked about this a little bit, but Elliot wants to know what were your final thoughts on Zordon, the gerbil god?
Well, I mean, of course, the fear of the gerbil god is in me now, and I'm going to be a lot more careful. And honestly, it's what I needed. I was feeling too full of self, and if there's one thing a gerbil god is good at doing, it's making you feel your insignificance and your proper place in the universe. So
yes.
Yeah, no, I am thankful and terrified to be made aware of the existence of the gerbil god, and I will live my life accordingly.
We are but a speck in the garden of his turbulence, so, and we should act accordingly.
That's right.
I've got one question here from the Many Side Media Discord from the Nailsmith, and then also a question from Carolyn, who played Siren Stanfield, that kind of go together. Nailsmith was asking, what are some good pieces of reference media for GMs who are like looking to get into Slugblaster? So like, what's good cartoon or movie or show or book to read to get you in the vibe? And then kind of on the same note, Carolyn was asking, like, for you personally, Saturday morning cartoon, what's the best Saturday morning cartoon, and what's the best Slugblaster Saturday morning cartoon?
Oh man. Well, okay. So I mean, I will keep saying it. The Spider-Verse movies nailed the tone, and then from the same studio, the new K-pop Demon Hunters is a hell of a vibe, and just so good at conveying the kind of kinetics, overly stylized action that I think works really well in Slugblaster, where you don't have to focus too much. It's all based on cool things. There's a moment in K-pop Demon Hunters at the beginning that I just got so obsessed with. I would just watch it over and over with my daughter. It's where like they're doing their first song and the plane's coming down, and then there's just this shot of like Rumi, the lead singer. Their song is playing, and then it cuts, and she is standing at the like open doorway of the airplane, about ready to like jump out, but she like turns and like looks at the camera as if it's a music video, and she just goes like, yeah, and then like starts rapping, and then does a little like salute and jumps up, and it's like the swaggiest thing I've ever seen. Both me and my daughter fall madly in love with that character in like 2 seconds. It's so cool, and it's like she might as well be saying check it in that moment. So yeah, like that whole studio is good.
You heard it here first. K-pop Demon Hunters is Slugblaster coded.
Yeah, I'd suggest that for the style and vibes. If you want to like get in the spirit of like the dimensional weirdness, I know Rick and Morty does a lot of that stuff. I've only watched the first season of Rick and Morty because I have a thing where when I'm working on something, I don't want to see a lot of stuff in the same vein.
Sure.
Because I don't want it to like spoil my fun of coming up with it myself. So I just sort of like, I think I watched the first season and I was like, hey, I can't watch any more of this. Like, I want to do all this myself. I don't want to like stealing ideas. So,
right.
But I know that would have a lot of stuff. I mean, I have a list in the book of stuff, and I think a lot of that media still holds really true. Of course, Everything Everywhere All at Once is like probably...
That was basically my Quahalia.
Yeah, probably said everything I wanted to say about the multiverse in one movie. And after I watched it, I just was like, good, someone said it. I don't need to say it. Like, it's okay. Like, and so that's great. And then my favorite Saturday morning cartoons. Well, let me think Earthworm Jim is probably the proto Slugblaster.
Oh, okay.
Because I loved Earthworm Jim so much that I created my own character, my own Earthworm Jim character, whose name was Raygun Boy. And I would write my own comics, and I just would rip off tons of Earthworm Jim stuff. And that comic, Raygun Boy, I would write those for a few years. And then later when I was in university, I needed an idea for a story. And I just thought like, oh, what if I wrote like a story about that old comic character I used to write as a kid? And I wrote this short story about this kid who built a ray gun in his bedroom. That is the beginning of what would eventually become Slugblaster. So really, Earthworm Jim is pretty much responsible for this game. Wow. So I'm going to say Earthworm Jim. I also, of course, love any show about a group of animals who fight. Like, so I love Street Sharks,
Samurai Tiger Pizza Cats.
Yes, the Pizza Cats, the Biker Mice from Mars, of course, the Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a few more, but yeah, there's lots. There was a whole thing. And I loved Transformers Beast Wars was like my favorite show.
Sure.
And I was a big Rat Trap guy. And so, yeah, I think those are probably my mains.
All great answers. There's one other question, and then actually I was pretty excited to get this question too, because I know in the first interview, one of the questions I asked was like, hey, is there anything in the book that you haven't really seen that I should make sure to like try to do?
Oh, yeah. What did I say?
We got a question from SK Scold. Did we do justice to your beloved Omnimouth?
Oh, man. You absolutely did. In fact, as I did not write the Omnimouth. That is one of the monsters that one of my guest writers wrote, Michael Elliott, who's just a fantastic designer. And when I was listening to the episode of about the Omnimouths, I was like, I gotta send this to Michael and make sure that he's heard it, because yeah, you took that and just you made it the final villain, which is just like, that's awesome. Like, I think Michael was inspired by some Stephen King story with the Omnimouth, but I don't know the story. But I think that was the inspiration that he was drawing from. So I think you absolutely did it justice. They're terrifying. You kept saying like, and an individual Omnimouth by itself isn't, they're kind of harmless, after describing it eating someone's finger off. And I kept being like, okay, I wouldn't say harmless.
that was
but I knew you were just trying to set up to like a world destroying entity. But like,
that was a funny moment listening back during the edit, because I think it's just when you're GMing, you're kind of in a fugue state. And I listened back to the edit, and like Ruby rolls well, or like uses hey guys, and my response to that. The way I like reward that the use of creative use of your powers is to have her lose like a third of her finger and not to be regained. I was like, oh, that maybe wasn't the best GM move, but it was fun.
No, it was okay. I'm gonna say one other thing about your GMing style that is so good that you really brought it, that I think people should learn from. And especially people who are really used to story games like this. I think people in the story gaming scene tend to be very lenient and kind of say yes a lot and nice and stuff, which is great and all very good, like improv practice. But I think sometimes it can mean that people who GM these games don't go hard enough and aren't mean enough. And you brought the pain, and you also said no. But you said no in ways that were powering the story, right?
Sure.
And I think that's something it's very hard to do because no one wants to say no. They don't want to feel like they're blocking or limiting people's creativity. But when you would say no, first of all, you could tell your players respect you and love you and know that you're like, and they chide you about it, but they know.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some shit for it every time, but
yeah, but you can tell that there's no hard feeling. It's just part of the fun of the banter and back and forth. But you said no in the right moments. I think like where it was like you're like, I'm gonna say because I don't want to set a precedent here. I know that I want this to be a hard moment. Like I'm not gonna let them get away with this easy because they need to suffer through this one. And so I think people who GM this game could learn a lot from the way you ran it in terms of how, I mean, I say it in the book, your job is to serve them, and your job is to serve them plate after plate of trouble and snakes, right? Like you got to bring the pain, and you really did.
It was the thing I noticed, and this was really a product of me trying to still figure out like Forged in the Dark, like dice pool games, because I haven't done that many like kind of dice pool based systems. Especially like Forged in the Dark type thing. And after like the first episode or two, I was kind of like, oh, these guys like have a lot of resources available. Like they can get that dice pool up pretty high a lot of the time. And those a dice pool could still be pretty unforgiving, but if you're rolling 6 or 7 dice, like it's probably going to be pretty forgiving.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, great. I can stack these odds as high as I want. And if they miss it, then it just feels all the crazier because they just put everything into it. Like it feels even more epic, and it feels deserved that
absolutely
the pain should come so hard.
No, that's the thing. The characters are extremely powerful, so you can go hard, right? Like because John Harper talks about this in Blades in the Dark. He says, he says like, just have them wake up with their hideout like being firebombed by a rival gang. Like you can just do stuff like that. You don't have to like pull punches, because the characters have the resources to like call for a flashback or like bring out some, like they can do stuff to like stop it or mitigate it or whatever. And so you can be pretty harsh on them. The same thing in Slugblaster. They have, if anything, Slugblaster characters are more powerful than Blades in the Dark characters. So they can do, you can do that stuff, and it will make the game better.
So Mikey, the last thing I want to make sure we talk about while I have you is, while we were playing this game and while we were airing this season, you were running a backer kit for Slime Warp and Solder, a new like triptych of expansion zines for Slugblaster.
Yeah.
Can you tell people what those are and what they can expect in there that they can add to their Slugblaster game?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So it's these 3 zines. They're all organized basically thematically. And so Slime is all about like sort of more biological stuff aspect of the Slugblaster world. So you're going to have like, there's going to be monsters, really, goopy, buggy monsters in there. And then I guess the main thing about these that I'm adding is a lot of signatures, right? Because, people want new character options and I want to make them. And one of the things that I ended up cutting from Slugblaster just due to this sort of scope creep, but that I always imagined for the game, were signatures that weren't devices, signatures that were more like powers. So I always wanted a telepath character option, for example. And I always wanted the ability to turn into a monster or something, like, as that's your signature thing, is that,
sure,
so I had these different things. So slime has a lot of signatures that are very like sort of organic in that way. So there's one called slime form, where you get to be Alex Mack, and you get to you can turn yourself into sort of slime. You get, I guess, that like sort of a Gooigi from Luigi's Mansion 3 type situation. You can be the slime kid. And then there's you can have a sort of a larval kind of weapon, which is like a little creature that acts as a gun, that you can hold, and you can give it little pets, but you can also, I guess, squeeze it and it shoots out like a sticky tongue, or shoots out like like a bunch of like acidic slime, right? So that's kind of, I'm pulling from some Half-Life the weapons there. And then there's you can have a creature pet, so you can have your pet slug, or your pet I don't know, land octopus, or whatever you come up with. So this is kind of like, just, I guess, the organic version of the robot companion, but it has a little bit extra, it's a little different. And then you have one signature monster DNA, which you can turn into a monster, a la like Turning Red or something like that. So you have this sort of thing. Yeah, so Slime's got all these new signatures, and then it has a bunch of new monsters, again, sort of focusing on kind of goopy things, including the Waking Pits vampire that I've alluded to in Slugblaster, but don't define. You now will get to see what that terrifying creature looks like.
Hell yeah.
And then a sample scenario, sort of like a sample run that's a little more fleshed out, because it's something that all GMs, but especially new GMs, kind of want, like, a starting off point, right? And Slugblaster is very, player driven. So, and because of the way the roles work.
If you're hearing this, that means you have listened to every last second of this episode, and that probably makes you a fan of this show. Well, if you're a fan and you like what we're doing and want to help others find it as well, then consider leaving us a 5-star review over on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Getting more ratings really does help more people find the show, and reading your nice words about the things that we put out into the world makes us feel all warm and good inside, and we want more of those good feels. So head on over to your podcast player of choice and leave us a 5-star review. Thanks.